On May 2nd, 1968, in an outpost near the Cambodian border, Sergeant Benavidez listened on his radio as the voice of a terrified American, part of a 12-man patrol, surrounded by a North Vietnamese battalion, pleaded to be rescued. Armed with only a knife, Roy jumped into a helicopter and took off with a 3-man crew to rescue his trapped comrades. When they arrived at the battle, the enemy was too numerous for the helicopter to evacuate the surrounded soldiers. It had to land 75 yards away from their position. After making the sign of the cross, Sergeant Benavidez jumped out of the helicopter as it hovered 10 feet above the ground and ran towards his comrades, carrying his knife and a medic bag. He was shot almost immediately, but he got up and kept moving. A grenade knocked him down again and kept moving. Reaching the Americans' position, he found 4 men dead and all the others badly wounded. He armed himself with an enemy rifle and began to treat the wounded, distribute ammunition, and call in airstrikes. He was shot again. He then ordered the helicopter to come in closer as he dragged the dead and wounded aboard. After he got all the wounded aboard, he ran back to retrieve classified documents from the body of a fallen soldier. He was shot in the stomach, and grenade fragments cut into his back. He got up and kept moving and made it back to the helicopter. The pilot was shot and the helicopter crashed. Roy pulled the wounded from the wreckage and radioed for airstrikes and another helicopter. He kept fighting until air support arrived. He was shot several more times before a second helicopter landed. As he was carrying a wounded man toward it, a North Vietnamese soldier clubbed him with his rifle and stabbed him with a bayonet. Sergeant Benavidez fought him hand to hand to death. After rescuing 3 more soldiers, he was finally flown with them to safety. Bleeding profusely, completely immobile, a doctor thought him to be dead. Roy was placed in a body bag before anyone discovered he was still alive. He spent a year in hospitals recovering from 7 serious gunshot wounds, 28 shrapnel wounds, and bayonet wounds in both arms. My friends, it took 13 years for Roy Benavidez to receive his Medal of Honor. But it didn't seem to matter to him. He stayed in the Army. The war and his forgotten heroism never embittered him. He spent his retirement counseling troubled kids, encouraging them to stay in school and off drugs. "I'm proud to be an American," Roy Benavidez said as he lay dying in a San Antonio hospital 10 years ago. May God bless his soul, and may Americans, all Americans, be very proud that Roy Benavidez was one of us.